Well, hello everybody. We're starting to get this party started, and I see we got John Custer already in the room. Hello. You're always the first person in, John, my good friend. So very glad that you are here then again tonight with us. Cheers to you from Michigan. Glad you're here, which means, of course, if you're in Michigan, you know, Harriet Jacobson cannot be far behind you. It's kind of the way I look at it. All righty. And we got Mike D also. Mike D from Vegas. Hey, man. We got a couple of Vegas guys here with us then tonight to join you then, too. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you guys have got your... let me see if I can get this thing over here. Hold on just a minute. I want to just kind of share this with a few other groups while you get a chance. In fact, let me just ask you if you'll go ahead and share this as well on your different platforms, wherever you happen to be. Let's see. Man, we're just about a minute and a half away from an exciting evening. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting excited about this. I'm so happy to have the guests we've got here coming in tonight. Be sure to say something over in the chat line. Let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're from also. We are almost there. We're getting at the top of the hour, just a few more seconds away. Be sure to make sure you got on your convention badge. Let's get ready to get this party started, folks. Here we go. Here we go. Show your drinks.
It's Thursday night. You know what that means. It's time for Magic and Martinis. Please welcome your host, Scott Will.
Hey. All right. Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Good to see everybody in the room here this evening. We appreciate everybody coming in. You see I'm wearing my badge over in front of my amazing Jonathan t-shirt over here this evening. I hope you've got your badges on. Let me just take a drink and say cheers to you guys. Thanks for coming. We got a couple of people who, by the way, I want to show who have actually downloaded their badges or that I have sent badges to them, and I want to kind of update a couple of them. Just most recently, I had gotten a good one over here from John Keever. Hey, thank you, John. In fact, along with John, it was David Harbour. And so David's got his right there that he downloaded and printed on his own name, just as Don Weiberg had done, and Jerry Costello, of course, got his that I sent over then to him. And just this week, just recently, even though we were off last week, I got one then from Robin Pierce. Robin, thank you so very much for downloading and printing out your badge then, too. That was pretty cool. Let's see who else we got. Hey, Alan Gittleson over there from California. Howdy, Scotty. Howdy, Alan. Cheers to you, my very good friend. So glad that you're here. Mark Rich, yep. Two magicians walking the bar. The third one ducks. And Mark, I've got your picture over here too. Let me see, where is Mark's picture? Just a second. There he is. There's Mark's picture holding his glass along with the badge. And I had sent you one also, I think an official badge. And if you have one, if you received that, Mark, just let me know. And also you need to update that as well. Kind of like what Dan Sclair had done in his tiki bar down there, which I think is kind of cool. Well, listen, this week, we've got just had a really great podcast conversation with my friend and yours, Mr. Franz Harari. If you've not had a chance to go over to listen to the one with Franz, he talks about some stories that he has never shared with anybody ever before. So it was first time ever, a lot of fun, really great. And if you are one of the YouTubers, you're more of a visual person, you can watch that over as well. On YouTube then as well. Let me see, where have I got that? You can, if you just go over to youtube.com/Texas Magician, then you can actually watch that video from this week too. And that reminds me, by the way, I would really appreciate while you're there, please, 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 would you just subscribe to my YouTube channel? I could really use your help. Doesn't take but just a minute, and that way you're updated on everything that's going to be happening. youtube.com/Texas Magician. That is me. Right over here. Thanks very much. Please take a look at that and just take a moment to subscribe if you would. I would greatly appreciate that. So again, if you guys have not gotten your badge, right over there is where, and right below is where that you would go to tinyurl/M&M. That's Magic and Martini. Right there, M&M badge. So tinyurl.com/M&M badge, and you will receive that badge right there, a PDF. You can download that, print out your name, and Bob's your uncle. Very good. And so that's all there is to it. Let me see. I always say we had Terrell Mage. Good evening. Welcome to Tampa Bay. Okay. I was just kind of down in your general neck of the woods. And where was I? Charleston, South Carolina this last week, doing a show down there. Things are starting to loosen up a little bit. And so, in fact, I had a show this afternoon on a paddle boat of all places, which was really just kind of a lot of fun. Listen, we've got a lot of guests. As always, 3 different guests. And these are guys are people you know, and I know you're going to love. And I'm going to bring in our first guest then right now. And this video will tell you something about him.
Ladies and gentlemen, strap on your seatbelts, because you've seen Copperfield, you've seen Blaine, and you've seen Angel, but you've never seen anybody like this before. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Shocker!
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the master of magical mayhem, the pile driver of prestidigitation, and the ambassador of Kick Your Asseter. And I'm the only magician approved by Jimmy Hart to kick all of your minds. So be prepared, because the Shocker is coming at you live.
Man alive, and there he is. There's Shocker right now.
Live from the Shocker Cave. How you guys doing out there? I'm hiding in my bunker, so the authorities can't know I'm on the internet, so they won't be able to find me down here. I mean, they have my address. I got a driver's license and vaccines and stuff. But anyway, I'm hiding to talk to you guys. How you doing out there?
We're fine. What are you drinking tonight there, Shocker? What's on the beverage list for you?
So the Shocker approved beverage is always going to be Coke Zero.
Coke Zero.
Now, if we can get Cherry Coke Zero, that's even better. It's harder to find right now, aluminum shortages or whatever. But the Shocker runs on caffeine, but also got a little tubby. So Coke Zero, that is what we're drinking for the rest of the night here.
Well, that happens during COVID, and as far as getting a little tubby, I'm kind of that same way myself. Got some other people who come in. Gene Protus, hey, I'm glad you're here, and that Gene is another 3D printer guy. We're going to talk about 3D printing a little bit later over there, and so let's get ready to bring on our next guest over here too. Let me see if I can get this one, perhaps, and this is Shocker's buddy, and let me bring him on.
I hate when somebody eats all but one of something. But I can show you how to fix this today on Bizzaro Life Hacks. The secret to refilling a package with brand new cookies is easy. All you need is the one cookie you have left, and you crush it into the package, just like that. And then you add some water. Ooh. Now, mix vigorously. And there you go, a whole new package of cookies. Now you know. Thanks for watching. We have more Bizzaro life hack videos coming soon, but until then, why don't you watch these videos and they'll keep you amused until we have some new stuff. Thanks. Oh man, not again. Hello, somebody, the door's stuck.
And there's the wild man himself. What a pair, the Shocker and Bizzaro. Hey man, how are you, Bizzaro?
How's it going?
You know how hard it is to move my hand from here all the way over there, too?
You don't even know where it is either. It's really uncomfortable. Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic. It's great to see you, my friend. What are you having for a drink there tonight?
I have blue balls.
I'm sorry about that, but what are you drinking? Oh, I'm see. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Glad that you're here. Hey, and by the way, that Shocker, Frank says hello to you. Wants to know how you're doing, man.
Tell him the doctor said it came back negative, but I still shouldn't be active for 3 to 6 weeks.
Perfect answer. And also, George Schindler, by the way, over there, Bizzaro said he wants some cookies in Brooklyn. So
well, he's got to come get them.
The dean of the SAM would like you to deliver.
Yeah.
All righty, we're about to get everybody else all brought in. Let's bring in our final guest here for this.
But I think you're not just a sleight of hand artist, you're probably the best, I think, because that was the thing about a true professional is they make it look so easy you can't believe anything's going on, and that was faultless, wasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Just remarkable and beautiful to watch. Levent, ladies and gentlemen, the fabulous Levent.
And there he is, Levent.
Hey, it's Levent. Hey, hi.
Down there, that's right. Hey, man. Great to see you. Yeah, it's a Brady Bunch.
I'm controlling him. I'm controlling his puppet, the puppet head. Shocker head.
Wait, I gotta get that right. Stop!
That's funny. So what are you drinking there tonight, Levent?
We supposed to have drinks? Oh, of course. I'm drinking
it's
Malbec from Mendoza, Argentina. So a little Argentine wine here. So shout out to my peeps in Argentina. A lot of friends there.
Cheers to you and everybody else who's here tonight, including not just those in the chat line, but all my guests here tonight. So cheers to you. Before we get started, by the way, that I wanted to mention, Levent, that this was a photo from the past. I don't know if you remember, but this is one of my favorite photos ever.
Wow, that's the Magic Circle Centenary. I remember performing there 2005, right? We had everybody was there. Yep. It was the craziest event. And of course, in Milton, there's Gay Blackstone, there's Calvert, there's LeGrand
David Ball.
Right, and Tammy,
right.
John Callow's wife. And who's the lady on the left?
That's Milt's wife.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Okay, there you go. All right. Cool. Yeah, that was during that convention, whatever.
I think her name is Arlene, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was fantastic. Yeah. What an amazing event. Oh,
that
great.
was, yeah. We had like the most amazing people who were at that thing, and it was just, and it wasn't a convention with lectures. They were kind of like all TED Talks, with Paul Daniels and with, it went on.
So it's a 100th anniversary of the Magic Circle. Was founded in 1905. This was in 2005. And
correct.
I think there was a bombing, actually. I remember in London when they blew up the buses, the double-decker buses. It was that weekend. That was during the convention. And
it was not that far away from where we were at that, because it was a college campus, I think we were on there in London. Right, and they had some sort of a bombing, and that was kind of a scary thing.
Yeah. So it's like if you ever want to know exactly the weekend, it was when they blew up the double-decker buses. That's when we were all in London. I remember. Yeah, it was crazy.
pretty darn crazy. Hey, listen.
One way to celebrate the centennial. I'm telling you guys right now, I know I wasn't invited, but, blow up maybe a taxi cab or something. Double-decker buses seems a little extreme just to celebrate the centennial.
That's kind of a shocker, I think. You're right. A little bit.
Yeah, because if you're going to blow it, if it's a double-decker, that should be the bicentennial, right?
There you go. Exactly.
I think you're right on that. So, hey, listen, I wanted to, we've got some creative people here who are just amazing.
Where are they? Are they on yet?
They're going to be coming up shortly. and you guys have come up short. They're coming up shortly. So, anyhow, that you've got something over there. I want to mention you've been doing some silicone types of stuff. Bizzaro, for just a second, if you can kind of show a couple of things that you've been working on, because you've got molds. When molds are different than doing 3D. Have you been doing like some 3D printing as well, or?
Oh yeah, okay. I do a little bit of everything. I mean, I even have a laser cutter engraver because we've been using. Shocker and I also make escape rooms on the side. It's kind of our side hustle, and so we're always messing with the 3D printing and the laser engraving and all that stuff. And then for prop making and stuff, I'm usually doing stuff with silicone and resins and stuff like so. A good example, I've made these. So a performer I've been helping had these knives. They were super heavy, so we needed them to be lightweight for reasons. So I actually made a mold of the knife. Here you can see, and you'll notice it's shiny around the edges because there are these powders that you can brush into a silicone mold that when you pull it out make it look like metal. So these resin knives just look like shiny chrome metal, which is nice. For personal stuff, like I had like this little flower vase for one of my acts, and it's made of glass. I would paint it white, but every so often in traveling, one of them would break, and I finally got sick of it. So what I did was I made a mold of it here. Hello, I am a mold. I made a mold of it.
I think I bought one of those before, not for that, but.
Well, I have a resin copy of it that can withstand a lot of damage. And then I have.
Is that like an imp bottle or something? Like an imp bottle? Is it like an imp bottle?
No, it's just a prop. It's just part. It's all it does. It sits on my briefcase and sticks to it for when I'm 18.
Okay.
It serves no purpose other than visual comedy. But yeah, and then this is a hand I've molded. This is Rudy Kobe's hand that I've made for something. So Rudy is with us in spirit.
Why do I feel like we strayed into the magician section of AdamandEve.com? Like, really?
I don't know what that. I don't get that joke.
Yes,
yeah, so 3D printing, and Levent can speak on this as well. I'll show you some of the 3D printing stuff. So this is something we've made for the escape room industry. This is a lock that once it's opened, the key can't be removed from it, right? So this entire housing is 3D printed. It's done on a resin printer.
Wow.
So and then painted, obviously. But yeah, so it's made to look like it's old. So it's an old iron lock. But most
what about the round part? I mean, the thing, is that metal?
It's a real lock. Like the interior is a real lock. So it doesn't sell over.
You just put the 3D printing thing around it. Got it.
Yeah. No, the mechanism is all mechanical. And most of the stuff I make 3D printing wise for myself are like housings and things like this. Was something we made for a TV show I was consulting on. It was an experiment. So this is just something we designed in a 3D modeling program and printed out. And this stuff, I love this. This is something we had for our escape room. This is using what's called a silk filament. So this looks like metal copper, but it's plastic. But it has that shine to it.
Beautiful. Right.
These metal filaments are awesome for faux stuff.
It looks like an Okido box or something almost.
Right. Yeah, this is a cap. It just went on top of something.
Gotcha. Along that line, then, Shocker, you were just talking a minute ago. Of course, you and Bizzaro are working with the escape room, and I want to know a little bit more about the escape rooms and how that came about.
Well, it came about that we went to escape rooms together and went, that should have been better. That thing should have opened instead of us opening it. And we kind of went at it thinking from magician point of views of how we could make things better. And originally, we wanted to be consultants and tell escape rooms how to fix their stuff. And it turns out people don't like being told their stuff sucks. So we learned to be a little more political about it. And Bizzaro especially started building newer props, newer things. We sold one or two, and then they liked that. And all of a sudden we built entire rooms up in Reno and Utah and have kind of gone all over with the props and rooms we've created. We also custom write scripts, because a lot of escape room scripts are a lot like magic scripts, where people look at the instructions and go, okay, that's all I need to do. And it usually makes a really boring story, because an escape room now is essentially an interactive story that you're going through. So we always try to make our puzzles make sense to the story, and the story makes sense to the puzzles. Just like in magic, your story should make sense to the magic you're doing. If you're telling a story about never seeing snow when you were a child, you better not have grown up in Canada while you're telling the frickin' story. That's just me.
That makes sense, actually. And so it's not just in Las Vegas, but it's also over in Reno where you have these rooms?
We built them all over the place. We built some in Utah. We're working on one for another state that we can't talk about right now.
Yeah, that's right.
We build them and wherever they hire us. Just like
whoever wants to give us money, we will go there and sell them and build them things. So yeah, it's been fun. We've got some cool creations. One of the rooms up in Reno is a comic book shop that you go to, the hidden evil villain's lair, who is a masked evil villain with a very Seth Rogen sounding voice. So I'm pretty happy they actually paid money for that one.
Wow. Now I wonder what about during this time of COVID, where we've been in quarantine and everything? I would imagine that escape rooms still are popular from the standpoint you get groups who are small groups who are comfortable with each other. They will go to that. I mean, so it's not a public thing. So there are confined spaces, but they're fine with confined spaces because
the thing that changed with COVID is a lot of escape rooms used to pair people up with groups you didn't know. So you might have a group of 3 and then another group of 3, and they put them in the room. Now almost all escape rooms are private bookings with your group, which is actually a better experience anyway. So that's wonderful. That actually improved it quite a bit. But no, they've been doing pretty good depending on the restrictions in their states. We've talked to some of our escape room owners that have had stories, but they've all seemed to persevere for the most part. Except for one in Vegas, who we won't talk about.
How many escape rooms do they have in Vegas?
Jeez, what was the last count? Like,
we have around 14, I think, 14 or 15.
I know companies or that rooms.
I know a couple have closed over the last year or so.
Wow,
but
that's
it's nothing compared to LA County. Like Los Angeles has so many, it's ridiculous.
Really, I would not have imagined. I mean, here in Houston, I think I know of one.
You have down in Houston. You have Strange Bird, which is apparently really good.
What?
There's a business down there called Strange Bird. Something like that. It's Strange Bird, if I remember correctly. And we haven't played it yet, but I've heard they're very, very good.
In Houston?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's a new one I'm not familiar with. But again,
check it out. I've heard it's really good.
Okay, good. Levent, have you ever been to a escape room?
I have no idea what it is, honestly. I really don't.
Oh.
I mean,
I'm
thinking it's some sort of puzzle. People get in a room, there's some sort of puzzle to get out. That's all I know, honestly.
So when they first started, that's kind of what they were. It was just a room full of puzzles that led you to a way to get out of the room you're locked in. And over the course of the last 6 years, they've become more of these theatrical, immersive experiences where it's no longer escape, but it's like accomplish a task, which might be escaping, but usually it's like, hey, go steal the Mona Lisa and then get out, or just do this, prevent the zombie apocalypse, things like that. And so they become way more theatrical and immersive. And there are puzzles and there are challenges. Like some stuff is just physical and some stuff is mental. It just depends. And if you play video games, for those of you watching, if you're a video game player, they're just live action video games. And if you're not, they're live action board games, kind of.
Years ago, I used to play. There was a company called Infocom, and I used to play interactive fiction. So this is before computers had power to do graphics. You had text. So if you played Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game, it started out like, I'm in a dark room. and then you go north to go, and it's you get out of bed, and if you're all dizzy, you go back to bed, and you got and basically you type in directions.
Yes.
And in that case, you had to go in his robe and get an aspirin, and then that's the first room of like many. And
that is an early precursor to the concept.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
In fact, that's what you have to do is stand in the corner and say walk forward, and then you have to take 3 steps, and if you don't grab the right thing, it won't light up. And
But since the pandemic, everybody's house became an escape room. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, everybody tried to get out. We actually worked with a company in Israel. Was it Israel? The one we were doing?
Yes.
We actually worked with a company in Israel that was working on a virtual escape room where it was this format like this, but we would see the point of view of the guy in the room, and we were telling him what to do, just like one of those old text adventures. It would be like, hey, go look at those test tubes.
Use your avatar.
And he would go over and we'd actually physically see the camera go over and look at them.
Right. But the text thing I'm talking about, there's no graphics. It's literally.
Oh, I remember. Don't get me wrong.
Those are just words.
Text adventure games like Zork and all those.
Yeah, they were amazing because it's all in your imagination. It's like the quote about that I think they tell the quote at the end of Ken Burns' documentary on radio. Basically, he says, a kid says, Dad, I like radio better than TV because the pictures are much clearer, and in meaning that it works in your imagination, which has its own benefit, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we can't make money on that. We got to actually build them. If we just do it in their imagination, then they don't.
So they give you like this empty room, and then now you're going to buy the fabric material.
It depends. We are custom. Whatever they need. We've done entire rooms. We've done one puzzle. One time we just punched up a story because the story made no sense to what they wanted to do. And especially with Bizzaro, because, you guys know Bizzaro. He's a creative freaking maniac on things, but he wants his stuff to make sense, and that's what we wanted for Escape Room. So at least once, and we did a talk down at Transworld, which is the big haunted house convention, about making your story make sense. If you're in an Egyptian temple that's collapsing, you shouldn't have an iPad that you can then put in a 9-digit code to get out of. It should be something Egyptian. It should be something related to the story you want to tell. Right. And that's
there's an interesting concept called act logic and it's a theatrical logic. I remember watching an interview in the 1980s with John Cleese talking on film, and he was talking. You remember John Cleese from Monty Python, and he was talking about. He says there's a certain amount of logic that has to be within any sort of theatrical pursuit. And if you have, for instance, in a comedy sketch, 4 guys. One guy's dressed as a cucumber. One guy's dressed up as a lettuce, and another guy's dressed up as a tomato. You go, okay, they're a salad, and they're now. But if you put a guy in there with a business suit on, you better explain why he's in that business suit. Meaning, in theater, you can have people dressed up as vegetables, and it's a bowl of salad, and it's a comedy sketch. And there's like this thing that there's a logic that has to be done within magic shows, within any sort of theatrical pursuit. The audience will go only so far, however, and in a way, it's best when it makes some sort of sense. And what do you say?
Oh, for sure. It's almost like in magic, the ham sandwich theory. Like, magic works best when it serves a purpose, or it's more impactful when it serves a purpose or relates to people in some way or another. And yeah, I think people, you can have somebody go into an escape room on that subject, and they'll have a good time just doing puzzles. But if you have this crazy immersive experience with production value, and everything makes sense, it's like having motivation. People, I'll put it a different way. So I did a lot of costuming growing up for just various reasons and things, and if you look at somebody who's made a costume, especially now that cosplay is a big thing, if you look at a costume and it doesn't have all these little details and things that make up the character they're portraying, you notice it. You go, oh man, that's not that good. But if they have everything, like all the little details, all the little stuff, you don't notice it. You don't sit there and go, oh, I love all these little details, but it makes this clearer picture. So having all these little details filled in makes a fuller picture that people appreciate on a level that they're not even maybe aware of.
So you were talking about something earlier about the molds, and I want to clarify this because I'm not sure what you're doing, but years ago, maybe it had to have been almost nearly 20 years ago, I was doing a Mice's Dream thing, and I was reaching someone's ear and pull out a coin, and then their ear, and then from the ear, coins would come out. And I bought this rubber ear, and I was using it, and then one day it was like hot weather, and I came out, and it was like flattened like a pancake, looked like it was just totally falling apart. The rubber was decomposing. It was terrible. So I decided, let me get a better ear, and I went to a hobby shop, and I found this stuff called Alumilite. And So let me just show, so because the viewers might not know this, I'm just saying. So I needed to make a strong ear that was solid material out of a resin. So what I had to do is I took this putty and I fashioned what was an ear, like a sculptor. I put this inside the oven in a home oven, and it made it into a solid, and I glazed it. And then I put this ear into a little container with this rubber material, put the ear in, and then it hardened and it made this mold basically. And then Alumilite is this company that sells these two resins, and you have 1-to-1. So it's like one shot glass of this chemical, one shot glass of this chemical, A and B chemical. You mix it together into a little cup, and you stir it quickly, because you've got like a minute or two before this stuff becomes rock hard.
It depends on the type.
And you pour it into the mold, and it fills up, and I swear it's like it gets hot too. It's like 2 minutes later, this thing pops out, and you've got this thing, and this thing is rock hard. I mean, I've dropped it into the Mice's Dream Pail a million times, and of course the one I used in the show was painted. This is a spare, but I just wanted to explain to people what that is. So you got to make a positive it's a kit you can buy from this company, Alumilite, and you can make these solid stuff. Is there something else that you're doing other than Alumilite? Explain what you're doing.
I have a couple different things I use. Let me go grab something else while you guys talk for a second.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different resins and formulas you can use. There's stuff that, like you said, it heats up and you got like 2 minutes, and if you don't get it, you're screwed. But there's stuff that can take 10-minute cures. I think I know what he's going to go get, because we had to build a puzzle, and if he's not grabbing this, then I'm just going to describe it. We built a puzzle where we shrank down into like inner space, Adventures of Inner Space, Body Wars, whatever you want to call it. When you're in the little micro medical ship and you shrink down into the human body. So we were doing that, and one of the things we got to was a room where they had to pull on intestines to make something part of the body open up, and we made our own intestines, and we went through like 4 different resins to see which one would hold up, and we wrapped it around. So we had these long PVC pipes that we then wrapped with socks, and then put the resin on top of the socks, so we had a clear tube to get through. And it was crazy and it was fun, but one of the resins I think was a half-hour cure. One of the resins was like a 10-minute cure.
They weren't resins, they were silicones.
Sorry, but yes, that's why he's here to correct me. I'm just going to do I'll do the cliff notes, and then he'll tell me where I'm going wrong.
If you go to our escape room making website, testsubjects.com, there's a YouTube link, and on the YouTube we have a behind-the-scenes video we made showing the process of us making these ridiculous arteries and stuff. But anyway, so here's the stuff I'll show you a couple of things. So one of the more well-known companies for resins and silicones is a place called Smooth On, right? That's the one that a lot of people use. Now this is one of their many brands. They have like so many different types of silicones, depending on what you need. This one has what's called a pot life of 3 minutes, which means you have 3 minutes to stir it and pour it before it starts to harden. And then a cure time, which is when you can touch it and take the thing out, of like 12 minutes. So like Moldstar 20T has like a 10-minute pot life. So some things cure faster than others. I have some stuff that takes 24 hours to cure, which I hate, but I like the faster setting stuff.
Just like meth, I guess.
Wait, here's an important question on this. Does that stuff take paint, or do you mix dye with it or pigments?
Well, this is silicone to make the mold with. So resin.
That's just the mold maker. Okay, that's not the original item.
Yeah, so the resin, most of them will take paint, but here's an interesting thing. So like if you're gonna pour plastic doesn't take paint well because it's not really porous. But interesting thing you can do is you can actually spray paint primer into a silicone mold. Like if I wanted to take the silicone mold, I could spray paint primer just with a normal spray paint can into this. And when the resin comes out, now that resin is treated with the primer, so now you can paint it no problem.
What a great trick. That's a great trick.
Also, I'll show you this stuff. So I'm going to show you a couple different mold making things here. So talking about Aluminite, this is from Aluminite here. It's called Amazing Mold Putty. It comes in 2 different flavors, yellow and purple. Yellow is food safe because there are 2 different types of silicones. There are tin cure and platinum cure. And I'm not going to go into what that means, but platinum cure is generally food safe, which means you can make molds, candy molds and things out of it, and it's better for skin. And tin cure isn't. But this stuff here is a 2-part putty, right? So if I take a chunk, two 8 equal pieces of this stuff, and I mold it together, then I can actually, instead of pouring it, because most silicone is a pour, but this is a putty that I can just kind of press into shape. So like if you were doing a mold of your ear thing, let's say your silicone mold, like the mold you have now died and went away for some reason, you could take the resin ear you have, glue it to a board, take this putty and just kind of press it into it, and make another silicone mold that's hand moldable.
Okay, and what about the color for that? Do you mix it? Like, is it just this one weird putty color? Or can you paint it?
This comes out of yellow. Once you mix these together, this comes out of yellow color. But again, this is the mold making, not the stuff you put into it.
And how long do they last? You know, a lot of times, like, of course, you don't want to leave it in the heat or in your car or something. But
so it depends on the silicone. They all have different what's called library life. Because usually when you put, as Levent mentioned, when you put a resin into a mold, it heats up, right? So extreme heat over time degrades the mold. And time itself, because these things are just constantly slowly curing, they'll become brittle over time. It just depends on how much it's used, what kind of silicone. Like if you go to the websites for these places, they have all that information. Most of the time, unless you're just making like hundreds and hundreds of production casts, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're making one-offs, then you're fine. Like I made one. I'll probably have to make another one of these eventually one day of this thing, but this will last me for years. It just depends on what you're doing. So one other thing I wanted to show you is this stuff here. This, the older generation knows it as friendly plastic, and there's a bunch of different names for it now. There's places, depending on the place you buy it, it's called polymorph plastic, hand moldable plastic, Instamorph. It's got all these different names. But what it is, it's these plastic beads. So you pour these into hot water, like boiling or slightly boiling water, right? And then they turn clear. They go from white to clear, and you can press them together and make shapes out of them. So like this here was actually a weight that I made to go into a plug, right? So I put this into like a mold, pushed it down inside and pulled it out, and I came out with this weird looking kind of thing and drilled a hole in it there. So this is a hard plastic,
yeah.
Right, so that you can use to make stuff if you don't want to have resins to pour, or if you just need to do it like a push mold or something, which is where you push something in. Like you could make a Sonata gimmick with this stuff. You can make a Sonata gimmick of your own hands and your own fingers.
Huh.
But you're still gonna have to paint it to match your hand color.
So if you're gonna paint that stuff, you need to sand it. Always sand first. Again, you can use primer, as I told you. And generally acrylic, you want to seal it. There's a bunch of different stuff. Airbrush is probably the better. You get an airbrush and mix it with like a medium, like the little flexible medium, and it'll have some flexibility. But yeah, right. Certain plastics do not like to take paint very well, so you have to kind of navigate that as well. But generally, sand the hell out of it.
It's funny. My late friend Frank Radke from Toledo, Ohio, was the guy Fakini. He sold the billiard balls. He passed away I think 15 years ago nearly.
Right.
And Fakini used to have these silicone. He used to mix them with this color and get these different colored.
Right, and you can do that.
Yeah, silicone. So the balls would be solid color through, but he could not get a proper red. And so what happened was, the story goes, I forget the director did The Prestige. He did Tenant. What was the director's name? Memento.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. So he
Nolan.
Nolan. Yeah. So he
Christopher Nolan.
So what happened was when he was doing The Prestige, he hired Ricky Jay and I guess Mike Weber to be magic consultants, and they wanted the character to have this red ball that was used, this billiard ball, but it was a bouncy ball. So what happened was they sent a sample of a ball in that red color that was the standard billiard ball color, which Frank Radke could never do. Right. And he sent it to him and said, we want a certain size ball for this movie. But because it's a movie, you got this tremendous budget. Right. So Frank Radke found this company in Germany that had a certain dye. It was not like a powder, but it was an oil that would go in the silicone balls. And basically it was $3,000 a gallon. It was something like that. It was something only a motion picture company was willing to pay that money because they wanted this bouncy ball for the actor Christian Bale to have this ball in that color. They paid the coin. Frank Radke got this gallon, used a little bit of it to make the ones for the movie. And from that point on, he was able to make these red balls. So when I was doing the recreation of Cardini's billiard ball act, I was able to get 2 1/8 billiard balls in this very specific color. And I told Frank Radke, like, he should call it Prestige Red because it was from the movie Prestige.
Because they're the ones who paid for it. So
yeah, they literally paid for it. Exactly. It was. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was $3,000 a gallon. He said it was this industrial oil dye. And it was, and when you get those balls compared to the other Fakini balls, that one feels a little different.
There's another company. I just was in Charleston, South Carolina this last week and talking with Howard Blackwell, and they were buying the Fakini name, I guess, and they didn't get it, so they've started their own thing. They're making these silicone balls and everything as well. I believe it's called True Slight.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. Frank was great. I mean, he was, was amazing. He sent me some experimental billiard balls that he had done where he had put some sort of plastic inside, so they weren't solid silicone. Of course, so they were much lighter. And he had told me about it. The story goes, he told me about it, and then he soon died. And I had done this instructional video on billiard balls, and I mailed it to him, and it arrived the day he died. So he never got to see it. And what happened is, so then a month later, I'm in my garage, which is 2 doors through here, and there's a cardboard box on the ground. It's a shoe box, like a Nike shoe box. And I'm like, what is this? And apparently my father-in-law, a box was delivered when I was away, and he just left it in the garage. It was a package to me from Frank Radke just before he died, and it was a whole set of these experimental billiard balls in it. So he did silicone, but he had inside some sort of core so that they were lighter weight, but they still had the feel. Very interesting,
I was always curious if they were if Fakini balls were solid or not, and I guess they are.
They're solid. That's why they weigh a ton. But I'm saying
this is the thing I just want to show you is kind of interesting that I just got again. It's called TrueSlight.com, and that and so what Howard had sent me or gave me then were these silicone balls, and they appear to be pretty solid. And then there was another gimmick thing, and thimbles also. So he's got these thimbles that are silicone that kind of
I'm very curious. These True Slight, if what size billiard balls they made, because what was great about Frank Radke was he made them not just in 1 3/4, but he made them in 2-inch, 2 1/8, 2
They do. He makes them in different sizes. Also, it's whatever size you want.
Yes. Well, I'm glad because it was very sad because when Frank died, his son kind of took over, but his son has another profession, and he couldn't kind of do it, and it's like it became an orphaned industry,
That's what Howard told me also. And you know David Chandler, don't you?
Over in Europe, do they do metric billiard balls? Is that, can we get the standardized style? Because I know when I'm trying to use my billiard ball, I don't know if my 12 millimeter matches up with my 2.5, and it just, messes me up every time.
80 millimeters is 3 inches. That's all you need to know.
Okay. Well, all I was thinking during your story, Levent, is you found this box on your garage from him, and it had his medication in it, and it should. That's all I could think of. You were saying that.
Poor Frank, but he was a sweet guy. So now you talk about molds and stuff. So let's talk about 3D printing here for a little bit.
Right.
So I have my 3D printer here over my shoulder, one of them, and I just want to talk about the molds issue. So 3D printing, I'm going to jump ahead and then I'll jump back because we're going to wrap up this mold thing. This 3D printer, what I sometimes do is if I want something to be molded, but like hard copies that are the original comes from this, is what I do is I print it on an ABS plastic. And ABS plastic is soluble by acetone. So what I do is I make this object, I put it in a plastic box, and I have it like like a metal platform. I put the object in, and I put acetone all over, plastic top box. I put it in my backyard in the sun for like 10 minutes, and then I take it out, and that fumes attack the outside of the 3D printed plastic. So instead of it having lines, it becomes really smooth. And then I take that, then I let it dry, and like the next day I take it and I put that into the mold, and I make the mold of this 3D printed object that I can resin print. That's a little process. So let's talk about 3D printing. This is a 3D printing. The first time I ever saw 3D printing used in magic, really, was this guy Bizzaro had showed it to me. And Bizzaro was the first. I didn't even consider using it, except I was doing a lecture in Vegas, and it was in a hotel room. And Bizzaro showed me this trick, which I'm not going to go into the trick that Bizzaro did, but he showed me his trick. And he says, "Wow, that's amazing." He goes, "Oh yeah, it's 3D printed." And I don't think you had it done. I believe you had a friend do it, or at the beginning.
Yeah, I didn't own a machine at the time.
Right.
I do now, but at the time I had somebody else who had access to one.
Right. So now I had these magic products, things that I would sell, that I had to make. I had to go in the garage with the cutting device and make stuff. And there were some things that could much easily be done and better done in a 3D printer. So I didn't really know. I think I contacted you, Bizzaro, and you told me maybe Photoshop. I didn't know how to do it. So I ended up going. I live in the Atlanta area, and there's a thing called a hacker space or a maker space. Mm-hmm. If people don't know it, you can look into this. When I say hackers, people who modify things, and there's these all across the world, really, and at least in cities, there's nonprofit organizations, and there's one here called Free Space here in Atlanta, which is gigantic. These people have like a Bridgeport mill, a lathe, they have welding equipment, tungsten inert gas welding, they got everything in this place. And I went there, and you join into this club. And I went there as a guest, and I saw they had 3D printing. And there's one guy, I took a class from one of the guys that was there. And he was a gentleman who did cosplay costumes. And basically, I took a 4-hour course with him, and he got me right up to speed. And he said, and I learned that I said, well, he goes, I told him, this is magic. This is what I need to do. And he said, you're going to need to get a CAD program. And so I got the software and started learning with a mouse, which, by the way, in 3D printing, you need a mouse. If trackpad doesn't work, it doesn't work, because the mouse does things that you can't do in design. And I started creating very rapidly designs, learned how to do that, and then bought a Lonesbot mini printer, and got really into it. And I start making, like I sell some magic stuff, and some things that I couldn't keep in stock because it was too difficult to manufacture. And in 3D printing, I can get, like, it's a matter of printing it and then just assembling it, instead of doing this hardcore building. It's like, oh, here's something. My Roto-Riser deck, which is after a person does an invisible deck, you explain fictitiously how the trick works, and you tell them it's an electronic deck, the card reverses. That's a gaff deck. And it used to take me all day to make a whole bunch of them. Now I can print the components for this while I'm doing other things, and it just take 10, 15 minutes to assemble it. And it's a revolution.
Yeah, no, what I love about it is you basically tell your 3D printer to print something, you leave your house, you come back like 2 hours later, and it's Christmas.
Don't do that. Don't do that because it's hot.
Or it's nightmare, one or the other. Depending
I'm not kidding. This could be a fire hazard. That thing is hot. I have above my printer, I have a smoke detector, and I never leave the house when that printer is running. I wouldn't do that if I were you.
I trust my printer a little more than you trust yours. It sounds like.
Okay, yeah, I'm in the house, and I keep it. Or you know what you could do if you could also, if you have an extra iPhone, you could do a FaceTime call and have a webcam. No, I'm not kidding. A baby monitor, webcam, whatever, just so you could periodically look and see that the thing is not on fire.
I'm picturing in about 2 years, Levent is going to have like private security in his house, just watching his stove to make sure it's not on, and some, I've got my people to make sure my toilets aren't running. And
I would not trust to leave the house with this thing running.
Well, obviously you haven't seen the things that Bizzaro leaves in his house.
Yeah, check this out.
But
you seen this program? It's called Shaper 3D. Check this thing out. So let me show you how easy it is to make a 3D object on this thing, right? So let me move that out of the way. There we go. And now, there you go. Boom. 3D object immediately, just using a stylus.
So now,
this thing here that I have here, I drew this out. What's cool about this, I'll show you this. You can do. If I want to make, like, let's say some sort of really involved like vase or something. So what I can do is I can basically do this, I do that, and look at that. I just basically made, out of a 2D drawing, I made this complicated shape.
Move your hand out of the way a little bit so I can see. Yeah.
So now this is an iPad app, and
so it started as an iPad app, but it is now on. It's on a Mac computer now, but it is, and they're bringing it to Windows eventually.
It's at my dog out here.
Wow. Hey, while you're doing that, let me show you this video, by the way, in which you had just shared with us. And so let me open this up to play this.
So this is using 3D printing and vacuum forming to make super realistic molds. This is like prop porn. I love it.
Oh, gee, I haven't seen this one yet.
So look at this. So they make a 3D mold, a 3D printed mold. They cast it, and then they use a heat gun to get rid of the 3D printed mold, just melt it away.
Right.
And now, using a computer, they can kind of computationally figure out where the details are going to happen. So they print onto the vacuum form plastic, and then boom, create this ultra realistic shell.
Oh, jeez.
So it's super lightweight.
So
when are you buying that, Bizzaro?
I just want to throw in something for the viewers here, just to keep in mind. I've had I've been doing 3D printing now. It's like 5 or 6 years. I do 3D printing for other magicians. I make gimmicks for all sorts of secret stuff for a lot of magicians. If you want to get involved in this, truth be told, the first step is to learn how to design stuff on the computer, because none of it matters until you can do that.
Yeah, Tinkercad. Tinkercad.com is a free 3D modeling program that's in your browser. It's a good way to start learning very basic stuff.
Yeah, and there's an inexpensive program called SelfCAD, which is actually pretty darn good. And I say this, in other words, it's like this. I'll give you an analogy. Someone says, I want to write a book, and then you go, so what kind of like printer should I buy? And you go, you mean, don't you want to learn how to learn English language and grammar? And that's what 3D printing is. You're going to have to learn how to work CAD and make what's in your brain exist. But there's also another thing. I just want to throw something at people, especially in these FDM printers, which is what's kind of important. It turns out, and I've been doing this enough, like 5-6 years. This machines are running all the time when I'm home. It really helps to, sometimes the orientation of the object on the build platform can make the difference between a good and a bad print. Because these things are like, this plastic is being laid out in layers, and it could break there. But if you have an object that has to be strung a different way, it might behoove you to print it at a different angle. And so that's something you learn over time, you know?
Yeah, that's like wood grain. Like if
Yeah,
you go
exactly.
split one way and solid the other way. And that's one kind of 3D printer too, because there's those crazy ones that will actually print in resin and it dips it into a liquid and you see it building on the way. Like the stop motion.
So these FDM printers basically are printers in which this is sort of like a robotic arm on a hot glue gun. And this is like a spool of plastic. And what happens is this thing comes down and goes left and right, and then the bed goes this way. So you got the X and Y axis, and then the Z axis is going up and down, and it spits it out. The computer, the exact G code. It spits out the exact code of where everything has to go. The build code. These other printers you're talking about, is the future of it, is these resin printers, which work sort of like using ultraviolet light. So there's a tank of liquid, and it's almost like a video projector projecting ultraviolet light. And when it projects light in a certain shapes, it hardens that plastic because of the ultraviolet light, and it comes out of this goopy liquid. That's one. And then there's the other kind, is the metal printers, which are amazing, which are, right now $250,000 machines, but at some point in the future,
the SLS nylon guys,
So what they do is, it's the laser sinister printers. What they do is they have powdered metals, and a laser beam burns the metal, and the machine. If I'm trying to remember how it goes, and it goes down and then throws more powdered metal, and it burns the next layer on top of it, the next layer, until it comes out as powdered metal. And it's aluminum, it's titanium.
Well, they're 3D printing human tissue now. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I won't say what order I got in for my human tissue one, but it's going to take about 3 to 8 months to finish the printing on that one. It's
No, 3D printers can make 3D printers.
Right. So now, basically, in a magician, like here's something that I sell is just like a prop. A lot of times what I do is I use 3D printing, like this is a holder to hold the silk production, and this is 3D printed, but I have a lot of holders in my act case. Before I bought 3D printer, my late mentor, Fantasio, had like these plastic boxes full of like plastic shampoo bottles and plastic things, because you take them and you cut them with the tool and assemble it. And when I got the 3D printer, 1 month in, I had 2 giant boxes of that stuff. I tossed it all out because I can make stuff specifically. So this is a holder for my salt shaker, salt pour thing. And then at first, like I was taking these, and I would have like a secret holder. I would have 2 pill bottles and tape them together, and then I print it. But later on, I first they started black, and then they started going light colored because it's easier to see at night. But I'll tell you what, a lot of the ones that I use in my show, a lot of my secret holders that are hidden from audience view, I print them out of glow-in-the-dark plastic, because in any light condition they can be seen, and you can use them backstage. Yeah, they actually literally sell plastic that's glow-in-the-dark.
Yep.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
So there you go. So go to Levent's website. He gets affiliate credit for every single 3D printer that he sells. Amazon.com/Levent. Buy one of everything. It's going to be great.
Right up there.
Well, let me tell you a little anecdote on this printer. This is Lowesbot Mini, and they had this at the maker thing. This is a fairly expensive printer. It's like $1,300 now. The newer version is like $1,500. It's a great printer. The downside to this printer is it can only print something within like a 6-inch square box. But this is a workhorse printer. It's got, it's automatic leveling. It's got a heated bed. It does nylon. It does, PLA, ABS. It's an amazing amount of materials.
Automatic leveling.
So what happened was I went to do Magic Live and do a little presentation on 3D printing.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, I'll show you something here. I have on the side here that I just caught my eye. It's worth showing you. But okay, so Magic Live, and my intention was to have it running in the dealer's booth. And UPS took this like $1,300 printer, and they dropped it, or I mean, really damaged it. When it got there, this frame was bent. So this was totaled. So what happened was I made an insurance claim at UPS, and they paid the whole thing, $1,300, check they sent me. And I said, do you want this item back? And they said, no, you keep it. So what happened was I kept the beat up one, and I bought a duplicate printer. And like when this head went bad here, I took it off the other printer. So I have literally two of these. One is a cannibalization. Yeah, it's a machine, just a parts machine. So whenever something goes wrong, I take it from my second one. But let me show you something for carry cases. You guys know what a Ken Brook multiplying bottle is?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, so now how do you carry that thing? Do you get a case? Let me show you the solution for it.
That just reminds me of, like, you know, a redneck would have 18 cars out in front of his house to have to get I get my alternator from this, and then Levent's going to have like 40 3D printers in his yard that he goes out to get the spare pieces from.
So this looks like a light anti-tank weapon, I know, but what this is actually, these are 3D printed, these little caps, and what you see here is, this is the tube for the multiplying bottles. So this is the tube. So this way, it's got end cap. It's got a coupling in the center to hold the two together. So basically, in here we have, 3 bottles stacked, 3 stack with another 3 stack with another 3 stack with the 2 drinking glasses in here. So it's basically a Ken Brook multiplying bottle set. But instead of having to carry it in a carry case, just by 3D printing these little elements, the end cap and the coupling, it makes it into a pretty sturdy carry container. It's rock solid. You throw it in your prop case.
It's like a map case almost.
Yeah, exactly. And those tubes, this gray is not a carry tube. This is the tube for the multiplying bottles. These are the plastic tubes that it came with. So it's very cool.
Oh.
Yeah, in other words, this is not a carry case. This is the stage prop. And it's got the bottle. So it's very, very efficient in terms of size and weight, And it's a very efficient way to carry a set of a nine bottle set of Ken Brook multiplying bottles.
You're a clever boy.
Wow.
Oh, there.
I remember also, Bizzaro, that you had made some things for Michael Tricks or Michael Koska down in Florida that were those little
stuff for a lot of people.
A lot of people. Yeah. So what happens? Do people come to you with an idea and say, I want this, and I've got an idea, or, are they fleshed out? At what point do they turn it over to you, and how do you put that together?
When they're
Depends on what it is. If someone comes to me and say, hey, I have an idea for a trick, I need a prototype, here's the method. Some people come to me and say, hey, I have an idea for a trick with no method. Can you figure it out? And that's more expensive because R&D costs more. And some people say, hey, I just need a fake I need a fake lightweight hand. Okay, so here's your fake lightweight hand. We'll just make a mold, blah blah blah. It just depends on what it is. And sometimes people come to me and go, I need this thing, and I say, I would love to take your money, but that already exists. Just go buy it from here. Because sometimes I'm so busy, I actually have to turn down work and send them somewhere else.
Well, I would think there'd be things that you're going to be making, for an example, like a mask. I was thinking of what is that called? About the where you got the mask, the girl without a middle, and kind of.
You would need a face cast. Then you would basically do a face cast of a person's face. You'd get some. Usually the way that's done, Hollywood style, is you get silicone that is made specifically for a face. If you're using Smooth On, it's called Body Double. Is the brand, and to do so, you basically slather that onto a person's face. That sets up very fast. Then what you have to do is you have to make what's called a mother mold, which is structure because silicone is floppy. You would then take plaster bandages and put them over the silicone, and that gives it structure. So now that pops off their face. Then you can pour plaster into the silicone, and now you have a plaster positive. That gives you the ability to tweak things, mold things, and then you would make another mold, and that's how they usually do it for Hollywood stuff. Now, obviously for magic, and for stage, it's less. You don't have to be as photoreal, so you could just take and pour your resin directly into the silicone mold and mix, like he said, coloring. So you can actually get pigments that mix into the resins and
silicone.
Yeah.
Like this. this was not pink. This started out as clear. This is like a clear-ish silicone. There's pigments that the Smooth On company makes. There's Silk Pig for silicone. There's UVO, UVO, which is opaque pigments, and then there is So Strong, which is for translucent resin. So, like, if I wanted to make a green version of this, I'd use a clear resin with the green, and I could make a green clear bottle with that mold that I have. Making a face cast, like, there's so many options for that.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you have 3D printing in terms of like gluing items together, this is the glue that I found really, really good. The Bob Smith.
Oh yeah, Bob Smith stuff. Yeah.
This is like a fantastic version of Crazy Glue, and the guy that taught me 3D printing, like he would do is he would it was interesting. He would make a Iron Man mask, for instance, like the perfect Iron Man mask, and he was making it in pieces, and he'd have the front part, and he'd finally get it, and he'd use this glue, the Bob Smith glue here, Insecure, and he would make it, put it together, and sand it, and get it perfect, and then he would drop that into the resin mold, and that would be the one master copy, and then he'd make them and paint them, and he looked incredible. I mean, because I live here in Atlanta, every year except during pandemic years, they have this thing called Dragon Con. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
we're dorks. We are well aware of all the anime, Dragon, Comic Con. That's our wheelhouse.
Right. These people do this stuff, and it is unbelievable. I go and get a ticket. You go and you just hang out at the bar at night by the Omni Hotel or whatever hotel downtown, and people walking by, and they went to town on it. It's amazing.
Levent, I got a question. Do you know what Zip Kicker is?
No.
Zip Kicker.
So, Zip Kicker is a spray and or liquid that basically instant cures super glue. Now, Bob Smith has their own version. I don't know what it's called, but theirs comes in a little spray bottle. But what happens is, if you ever need to join something quickly, you basically take the super glue, you attach the two things, and go, and the stuff hardens like that. Instant cure.
I'm gonna give the magicians a tip here. If you're not into, someone turned me on to this recently. It's great. If you're not into any of this, a lot of magicians have some prop that's got to be black-guarded a little bit. So they have this black paint, right? A friend of mine turned me on to this matte black fingernail polish. And you put that on stuff, and it cures like in 2 minutes. Yeah. And it's ready to put in the show. It's like, that is great. If you got some secret props that need, you want black paint. No, forget that. Get this. You got it on Amazon, this little jar of matte black fingernail polish.
Matte black.
And and it's fantastic, and it cures like in just a couple of minutes, and it's ready. You can go right into a show with it. It's great. Good tip.
Great.
Yeah.
Man. Well, listen, we've gone pretty deep into a lot of creative stuff over here, and I know I'm surprised there haven't been more questions, but I think everyone's been kind of, those who are interested have been on the edge of their seat. What's that, Bizzaro? What? Put him to sleep. No, I think we've gone deep into this subject, and that was kind of where I was wanting to go. There were so many other things that we could have obviously talked about. I wanted to talk a little bit to Levent about photography and some of the stuff.
I'll show you. I showed this at Magic Live. Let me go get the lens. I'll show you. This is interesting.
Okay.
While he's doing that, is there anything upcoming anybody wants to pimp? I know that I'm doing a show on the weekends here in Vegas at a.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
Magic. And also, if anybody's in Austin in September, I'm going to be at TAOM in Austin.
Yeah, no, your late night magic show. Pimp that out. Late night magic is one of the only magic shows. Well, now they're all coming back, but it was one of the first ones to go in Vegas. I'm not in it, so I can pimp it out. I'll be the hype man. It's got Bizzaro. It has got Mondre. It has got Lefty from Murray Show. Yeah. It's got the chick whose name I can't remember.
Anna Rose.
Danny?
Because I don't know her that well. It's got John Shaw, and it's late night magic. It is dirty. It is funny. It is raunchy. go if you're in Vegas and you're looking for something you haven't seen yet. Late night magic. What hotel is it at, Bizzaro?
Alexis Park at 11 o'clock. Dirty jokes and magic tricks. That's basically
there you go.
Now, Alexis Park is the same place where right now I believe Alon New is doing his show. Is that right?
Alon New is there. Tommy Wind is there. There's a variety show with Penny Wiggins that's in it, and a couple others.
Penny Wiggins from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So this is something I showed during that talk at Magic Live, just so you show. So it's not just 3D printer. It's not just for magic tricks. It's for all sorts of household things that you come up with. A stand for your iPhone, everything. So this is something I invented because on the cameras have this back cap that protects the back of the lens.
Right.
So I found that what you're doing is you're taking this back cap, you're protecting this $2 back cap, and you're holding this $1,500 lens in your two fingers like this, which is crazy. So I 3D printed out of this little thing here, out of glow-in-the-dark plastic. So when you do a lens swap, you wear it as a ring. It gets worn as a ring. So you can do a lens swap.
Magnetic?
No, it's just glued on there. It's double stick taped on the back of a lens cap.
Oh, I see.
So I just 3D printed this simple shape. So instead of me holding that, I can hold this as a ring, and now I can properly protect a very expensive lens.
If you don't sell those, you should.
I guess, yeah. It's, but it was just it was a solution. Like, there's so many things where you go in the house and you go, oh, wait a minute. And you get on the CAD program and you spend 3 minutes, literally, what's on here now is literally, I'll show you what's on here. My wife, we're doing like a party, friends about the Formula One car racing, and she's going to bake a cake, like a checker flag cake with Formula One cars. She needed a little flag. She goes, well, I'll get some toothpicks. I said, no, I printed her the thing to be able to put the pictures of the race courses on the cake. So that's actually what was running on the printer earlier today.
I remember designing a prop, and I was going to make it out of wood and make this very elaborate thing, and then I was going to make a mold of it, and I was like, wait a second. We live in the future. I'll just design it in 3D and have it sent to a place, and I was like, we sometimes forget we're living in the future and have access to cool technology now.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about 3D printing, though, and you're into it, you can just probably tell me if this happens to you, because it happens to me all the time. I design something, it's running on the machine, it's going to run for an hour, it's on there maybe 20 minutes, and I go, oh, I should have done this other thing, and I go at the CAD and fix it, and I abort this, and I throw out the plastic and start again. So many times before the thing's even printed, I've thought of an improvement on the item.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, or sometimes the plastic shrinks a little too much, and you didn't allow for proper tolerances, and you have to be like, all right, well, we make another one.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. Anyone who thinks that you can, very rarely do you design this one thing and there's one version of it. Very often you're going to make it, you're going to go, yeah, this because you're right, the materials affect it. They shrink a little bit. They might not be as stiff. I mean, this little flag for the cake, it turns out.
I'm well aware of the material not being as stiff and shrinking a little bit. That is something that I think all of us can identify with.
Well, not everybody, believe me. So see this
he's
thing
printing
here.
little skills as he's going too. That's great. I love that.
But like this little flag, I made it one level, and it was just too soft, the plastic. So I made an extra 2 millimeters just to give it. But my point is, I had to make one and just throw it out, and go, okay, well,
I have a bin full of just reject stuff in case I ever need it for something, or I could use them for like decoration of some sort.
I've had so many of those that they get thrown out. I can't handle the clutter.
So you're a hoarder.
I used to keep them, and now they're like, next version. I'm on my computer. I must have 400, 500, 500 projects, and each one is maybe 20 designs in each project. It's insane. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man. Well, listen, as I was saying, this is great because we've had just a lot of. There was someone who just asked a question about there. Can you print? Can you print another 3D printer?
Okay, so now this is a good point. This is a rep printer. This is a theoretical concept. There was a professor in a university in Scotland who had the concept of a machine that can print itself. So it turns out that this company, Lolsbot, a lot of these parts, when you buy it, they give you a USB stick with the STL files, the files to print a lot of these parts that are in here. And like I had this part here break, and before it was as it was breaking, I printed another one of that part and I put it in. So yeah, these little orange, these are all 3D printed. So it's true. So hopefully the happy ending is eventually the computers will be able to make themselves, and then they'll make them fighting weaponized drones like the movie Terminator.
Do you want Terminators? That's how we end up with Terminators. Once they make themselves, we have Terminators.
The patent here is held by Skynet.
Okay, there we go. Yes. All of a sudden, Arnold Schwarzenegger head just prints behind. If you had been printing an Arnold Schwarzenegger head behind you that whole time, that would have been amazing. And by the end of the pop, it just comes up and the eyes start glowing red.
Glowing, yeah.
Yeah. With the startup tone, it makes it. I
was so sad when they put that out of Universal Studios. That was the best 3D movie ever in a theme park with Terminator 3D. Now we're talking. I can talk about shit I know about. I know about how to talk.
Well, we're out of time.
I know we're out of time. So the magician Levent, I'm actually going back to work, and it's going to be 10 weeks starting Monday. I'll be going back to work. So
back on the cruise ship.
A lot of work. No, I'm looking at my to-do list and each week countdown of what I got to do to get right back to show business. But in the meantime, Levent, if anyone else, I design stuff with people and consult and do Zoom with people. LeventMagic.com if you want to reach me. Bizzaro and Shocker, you can reach them at where? BizzaroandShocker.com?
My personal website is Bizzaro.ninja.
Bizzaro.ninja. Okay, nice.
But you got that for the two of the guys. Shocker.
That's a double site for when we're working together. We did the castle for a couple Halloweens together, and we've done theme parks and stuff. So we have our dual show as long as our solo stuff. He's in a show like Late Night Magic. I'm at a comedy show tonight, but Shocker isn't as solidly booked as my manager Greg is. Greg is getting back to some corporate work, but Shocker saves it. Shocker right there. Go to him if you need some good walk around for something. I hear that guy's really freaking good. So
GregDow.com. There you go.
Yeah, that guy pays my bills, so I can do all the stupid stuff.
Well, again, as Alan Gittleson said, this is another great show, everyone. Thank you guys very much for being my guests over here this evening. This has been just another fun show. Yep, cheers to everybody over here. Thank you. And let me just mention, by the way, I'm gonna remove you guys from the studio for just a minute, but hang around. Don't leave. We'll come back after we end the broadcast, so we have a chance just to chat and say goodbye and everything. So hang on just a bit. But thanks again. I appreciate, Levent, you being here. Thanks a lot, Shocker. Thanks a lot, Bizzaro. This has been just really great and a lot of fun. Everybody, I think, has really gotten a lot out of this. I say everybody being all the guests who have been on here, and I know others who are going to be watching this later in their own time zone. So thank you again. Appreciate it. So, all right. Take you guys out over here for just a second. I just want to remind you, let's see, what do we got? There was... there was something else. This is kind of interesting. There is a friend of mine who is also who has done these amazing shirts. He did the Magic Word podcast shirts, which are really cool, and Mechanic Threads. And I would recommend, if you are interested in something, he's got the Mechanic Threads collections / Mullica. He's got a bunch of really cool things with Tom Mullica t-shirts. And these are brand new, just out. So I want to recommend that. I get nothing out of this. This is just a young man I know, his father, and his son has been, Jacob Rangel has been doing this under Mechanic Threads collections. He's got this new thing over there with the things he's been doing with Tom Mullica then as well. As I mentioned, he's got one you can find as well to find the Magic Word podcast. These are the most comfortable T-shirts. I highly recommend. $20. I mean, that's a heck of a deal right there. For $20, you can have a Magic Word podcast T-shirt, and I recommend that then too. Please do. And Gene, you're welcome. I appreciate you saying it was a great show. I know you were interested in 3D printing. I know a lot of people who are listening tonight also have been interested. One last thing I just want to remind everybody then, too, to make sure if you have a chance that you can go over there, right over here to the M&M badge. That's Magic and Martini badge. So this way that you can kind of get, oh, what am I trying to say? There you go. You can get that badge, put your name in that slot, and then take a picture. So this way that you're going to have somebody that you can kind of put your picture in there, kind of like Robin Pierce had done then too. So I recommend that you guys do that. Join the party. Have a lot of fun. That's what this is all about. I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us here this evening for this one. And we've got some amazing people over the next few weeks. I don't want to spoil all the surprise. However, this outro will tell you a little bit about who we've got coming up. That's going to be coming up next week, which is going to be another great episode. I took off this last week while I was out of town in South Carolina performing. And so I think this is one of those things as we start to kind of come out of COVID, we will have an opportunity perhaps to kind of start scaling this down a little bit. But right now, I don't have any plans for stopping in the immediate future. So thank you guys very much for coming. And this will tell you a little bit about what's coming up then soon. So please, if you would, go over one more time. Let me just give you this one more time. Please, please, please go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Texas Magician. That's youtube.com/Texas Magician. I'm just a little bit of ways away from where I can actually start monetizing that. And so I need you guys, please, to help me with the Texas Magician to subscribe to that. Won't take a minute much of your time to do that. So until next week, stay well, stay safe, and get booked very soon. And this is Scotty.